ECB has announced that it will implement anti-fragmentation measures to avoid bond yields from soaring. What we have seen in the last months is that the bond yields of Spain or Italy are rising, and the spread relative to the German bond is also rising. This is absolutely normal, because what we must remember is that what was an anomaly was to see extremely low bond yields and very low spreads relative to Germany in an environment like the one that we saw between 2019 and 2021. The main peripheral economies, Spain and Italy, have seen how the ECB was purchasing 100% of their net issuances for a very prolonged period of time. This has artificially depressed the bond yields and the spreads and kept an illusion of solvency that is now starting to fade away. The central bank doesn't eliminate risk. Central banks may disguise them for a while, and it would be completely ridiculous and certainly not a very good idea to implement measures to stop bond yields from rising now, because what we're seeing is simply a normalization of spreads. Nothing spectacular, and certainly not dangerous, after Spain and Italy have also prolonged the period of maturity of their debt to a very high level, between 8 to 9 years. So it is not advisable for the ECB to continue to implement financial repression with the levels of elevated inflation that the Eurozone suffers right now. It is also a perverse incentive, because some peripheral countries may look at this as an opportunity to continue to increase imbalances. And if countries like Spain have doubled their structural deficit in the last 3 years, that is certainly not going to help. It is also a perverse incentive, because it helps those that are not taking the actions required to implement structural reforms and reduce debt at the expense of those that are doing things correctly. So even if there was conditionality, which is likely to happen, that conditionality is likely to be extremely soft and benign. Therefore, the risk of seeing peripheral countries taking more aggressive action in getting into a situation in which the levels of debt are not even controlled but rise is very high. The most important thing here is that it seems that the ECB doesn't trust markets. Markets are more than willing to buy bonds from peripheral countries and from the Eurozone if the returns are logical, if the yields are logical, if they reflect the reality of solvency and liquidity of the issuers. There is absolutely no problem of liquidity, and certainly a very high demand for safe assets with a certain yield. But the yield cannot be depressed simply for political reasons, and certainly cannot be a tool to give a benefit to the countries that are not implementing the structural reforms against those that are actually doing it. Therefore, for all of those that want the euro to succeed and the European Union and the Eurozone to succeed, it is not a very good idea to implement these types of measures that end up disguising risk and creating a perverse incentive to continue to spend unwisely.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, leave your comments below, and keep defending freedom. Thank you very much.